Welcome to the Primal Persistence Podcast, the podcast where I will give you health and fitness tips for your journey toward health and fitness through knowledge from me and guests that we both can learn from. So let's get started with the Primal Persistence Podcast. Enjoy. Welcome to this show is all about primal training and primal living. In this show today I have Mike on, and Mike is a very well-rounded athlete in the OCR space. He is a father and just living the primal lifestyle. In this show that you're going to listen to now, it's all about living primally, training primally, and just getting most out of your life. It is a show filled with small tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life. So let's get started and see and talk about what Mike has to tell us today. How is the primal style of training working for you?
Great. I mean, I absolutely love it. So I started last year. So to back up, not to get too into the weeds here, but in 2015 I ran the Spartan Beast in Lake Tahoe, and it was my 18th race of the year. I just totally blew up at the end. I remember hiking up one of the hills, the tallest hill up to Squaw Peak, and I was just like, I am done. This is it. I basically, I abused obstacle course racing and, training and everything. So after that, I kind of just finished out the year, didn't really do much. And then I think that's when Sisson and Mark was on the Greenfield podcast. So that's when I heard it, was after the new year. So January 2016. So then I started doing the primal stuff in February of 2016, leading up all the way to Tahoe again in 2016. So I did it for about 9 months. I just worked on low end training, just did some aerobic runs, I focused more on just strength training. So I got stronger. I didn't do the maximum sustained workouts, just because I wanted to join a gym where I could kind of, work out with other people, but they're similar. I mean, the workouts, I was lucky to find a gym near my house that does like 5x5 workouts, and, they're CrossFit style, but it's not CrossFit. And then long story short, before I started Primal, I actually got metabolically tested. So I went and I got my VO2 max tested, and I had a 47 VO2 max, which is all right. Not nothing great. It's probably around average. And then after Tahoe in 2016, 9 months later, I went and got retested again, and my VO2 went up from a 47 to a 52. So quite a bit of a increase there and improvement just in 9 months. And really the only thing I did was switch my nutrition to healthier fats, lower carbs, and so there's definitely, I have science to prove that it works. So
Fantastic. What about weight? Have you gained any weight since you changed?
I've gained weight, actually. So I was like skinny fat, so at the end of that 2015 race, I was probably like 152. My body fat was in the single digits, but I was very weak. Like when I started working out and started doing these strength workouts, I couldn't even squat 100 pounds. I was just so weak, so I've actually put on weight. I just feel like I've been eating more. Like I said, I eat healthier proteins, healthier fats. I'm not taking in all those junky and empty carbs that I was. And before, get me wrong, I thought I was eating healthy before. I was having my big bowl of oatmeal in the morning, and I had like a salad with, a bunch of junk on it. And, but it's just night and day, switching from eating that kind of high carb diet to, a high fat, healthy protein diet. Just really great. And actually, the other thing about Primal that I love is that it's not as rigid as, like, say, keto or paleo. I actually do carb backloading, especially when I'm training for Spartan, because I found, like, with Spartan, you do need carbs. So, I mean, Primal does, recommend, to mix in some carbs here and there, especially if you're training hard or you're racing, So I do, I carb backload with like a lot. My wife makes really good sweet potato fries, baked sweet potato fries. Um, she also makes we have some really healthy. She makes these healthy apple chips and kale chips in the food dehydrator. So we eat wild rice a lot. I never ate wild rice until I started reading up on the primal endurance, and that was one of the carbs that he suggested, and like we love it. I mean, it's basically whenever it's my pasta substitute now. Before I would eat like white pasta, but now it's wild rice, and I'll put some lamb meatballs, or some grass-fed beef meatballs on top of that with some sauce, and that's a really good meal.
Then how often do you carb backloading on hard training days, or do you do it often?
Yeah, I do it often. I train 6 days a week, and it's usually pretty hard. Like the workouts I do are fairly intense, so I probably carb backload like probably 3 to 4 times a week. On like a Sunday, so for example, like Sunday primarily, I just do like a typical long run on Sunday, maybe some swimming in the afternoon. So I won't carb backload, the day before. But that night I will eat some carbs, because usually Monday morning I hit it hard in the gym, and or I'll go for like a tempo run or something in the morning, or some, maybe some sprints in the morning. So I'll carb backload at night, and I found that works. Because you do have to kind of see what works for you, right? Like when you first start with the problem, they give you a ton of information, but you kind of have to, you know, you know, uh, pick what works for you here and there. You know?
Yeah, the 80 training rule is very nice to get it to working in your everyday life. And
Right.
you know, with a 2 year old, that the sleep part is sometimes hard getting in there all the time when you have a 2 year old.
Right, exactly. I mean, that was another thing. I mean, like I said, in 2015, I did 20 obstacle course races, 13 Spartans, and 7 other races. And that was my daughter was born in June of 2015. So starting the new year, I mean, something definitely had to change. I could not sustain that sort of lifestyle. The training was burning me out. There's too many races. We were traveling too much. So, but I still wanted to stay healthy. So that's really when, I kind of totally revamped the way I work out. And like I said, it's like the way you're saying, like one of the principles that I try to follow for myself is that if my workout doesn't start as soon as I step out the front door, then I'm not going to do it, So that's kind of,
Okay.
that's why it's like, I get up early, get up at 5:15 and before everyone else is up, and, get in my workout. I'm back by, my workout will start at 6, and then I'm back here by 7, and then, I can sit and eat breakfast with everybody. And
Oh, fantastic.
yeah. And the other thing that I never did up until I started Primal was just kind of the whole, ancestral movement type of thing. Like I bought an activity tracker. I used to kind of scoff at those, like those Fitbits. I'd be like, those are stupid. Why would you want that? But now it's like I have a Garmin Vivo Active HR, and I'm always just tracking to see how much activity I'm doing through the day. I try to get at least 15,000 steps every single day. When I'm training for a Spartan Beast, I'll try to up that to about 20,000. I'm constantly getting up. I work on I'm a computer programmer, so I'm a cube rat. So before I would just do my workout in the morning, and then I'd go to my office and just slouch in my chair for the entire day. But now it's like I'm up 20 minutes. I'll walk around the building. People must think I'm crazy where I work. And then, I'll hike up. We work on the 7th floor. I'll try to hike up and down the stairs like 5 to 10 times a day. And over time, I mean, it adds up. By the end of the day, it's like I look at my watch, I got 17,000 steps, so whereas
Yeah.
before I'd probably be at like 3,000,
Yeah.
so.
What about do you put any movement within the day, like doing some strength movement when you get out of the chair and doing some squats or whatever?
Yeah, like what I'll do sometimes, like what I'll do on the stairs, I'll do these because I had problems with my Achilles. So what I try to do is I guess they're eccentric like calf raises on the
Hmm?
stairs. So I'll do stuff like that. I kind of hang out in the stairwell and just kind of do some calf raises. Um, I don't really do. I used to do push-ups, but now I share an office with someone else, so I don't want to be a distraction.
Right.
When I come home though, I have like a rock climbing hang board that I put up in my kitchen. So kind of every time I walk by it, I'll try to crank out some pull-ups, and I'll do that like 3 times a week. I have a little pull-up routine where I'm trying to just kind of increase the volume of my pull-ups and improve my grip strength. That sort of stuff is just so much more maintainable and sustainable over time, just doing that rather than being like, I need to go to the rock climbing gym twice a week to work on my grip.
Yeah,
Whereas
exactly.
I have a hang board right in my kitchen that I can just do whenever I want, and it just adds over time.
Hmm?
So
It sounds like you've taken the entire primal in and very, very enjoying it as well.
yeah,
Before
I
I
do. It's
move to my favorite question, right now you said it yourself. You said keto. I want to talk to you about keto in a quite a while, but we talked a little about food. Do you have any training snacks after moving to primal, or strategies within Tahoe or some of the other longer races you've done?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, before I was thinking like what my snacks were, just largely which I thought were healthy, but they were kind of junky. Like I used to put like honey. I would have like honey with fruit and these really kind of sugary snacks, and it took me a while. I mean, I don't know if when you switched to primal, like it took me a couple weeks to kind of wean myself off of all that stuff. I kind of felt like I was hungover for a couple weeks, and then that kind of was like really an eye opener to me about how like the stuff I was eating was kind of like my body was like almost like physically addicted to it, in an unhealthy way. So I switched over the snacks I eat now are largely like I eat like maybe like a handful of pecans, maybe some macadamias. Like I said too, my wife makes those really good apple chips. I'll kind of munch on those, and they're kind of like one apple will make like maybe like 20 to 25 apple chips. So where you can kind of easily munch or scarf down a full apple pretty easily, but you're not going to really eat 25 apple chips. So they're kind of they're a little bit more satiating, I guess. What are some other snacks? I like. There's a farmers market that we go to every week. There's one of the vendors there makes this homemade coconut yogurt that I absolutely love. So I get that. I eat that a little. I munch on that a little bit. In terms of like fruit, I do eat some fruit. I eat like raspberries and blackberries now is what I really love. And occasionally I'll probably have like a harmless harvest coconut water.
Hmm?
But other than that, yeah, those are mainly my snacks. So,
What do you do
in
for
race,
training, for racing and training? Do you bring anything with you, or are you fully fat adapted and running on fat?
yeah, so that was the huge like eye opener for me when I raced Tahoe. The year before, I was taking. I don't want to not. I mean, it's a product that a lot of people use and like, but it didn't really work for me. It was like that Tailwind. It's just a very sugary drink that people drink. Have you heard of Tailwind?
Yeah, I've heard of, never tried it.
Yeah, so I tried it. I mean, because it was really highly rated, and um, I mean, it tasted good, and like I said, it worked. My wife likes it, and she's used it, but that just made me sick. Like I was drinking that the entire race. I just felt so sick, and I was like, that was another reason. I'm like, I can't go out there and run a 5-hour race and be, sucking this stuff down. It just, I was like, it just wasn't really my thing. So that's when I really try to become more fat adapted in the primal, and it works. So last year at Tahoe, I overthought it. I took like 3 Justin's nut butters with me, some Lara bars and everything. I ended up only I took one Justin's nut butter packet about 2 hours into the race, and that was all I needed. Um, Before the race, I had a primal shake, which I'm actually writing an article about that I'm going to post on my blog about the shake. That was another big thing that I switched when I started um, implementing primal was having a breakfast shake every morning. Before that, I would have like this big giant bowl of oatmeal that would just sit in my stomach like a brick. So having a shake in the morning is really helped with my training and also with pre-race strategy. Because before I'd be like, what do I eat pre-race? You know, having a shake that you can kind of tweak and tailor to what you're going to do that day, and it's easily digestible. You know, I can fill it up with more carbs if I want, more fat if I want, you know, less protein if I want, you know, so it's very customizable. So that was the two things that really helped with Tahoe last year was, you know, having my nice breakfast shake in the morning about 2 hours before the race. It was probably about 600 calories. I was able to digest it pretty easily. And then during the race, I had one Justin's nut butter, and the race took me, you know, 4 hours and 55 minutes, you know, so
Fantastic.
it worked. Yeah, it works. You know, it works. You just got to stick with it.
Yeah, you gotta wait till you're all adapted.
Yeah.
I said you started talking about keto. You haven't jumped on the keto bandwagon yet.
No, yeah, you know, the thing about keto is I think if I was strictly a trail runner, like an ultra distance runner, then I think keto is probably a really, you know, it's worth trying. But being with Spartan, where I have to do a lot of anaerobic workouts, and you know, I just don't know. I don't even know of anybody on the Spartan circuit that's done keto. I know there's a bunch of people that have done primal, but yeah, I think keto. Like I said, if I was an ultra runner, I'd probably try keto. But with Spartan, I think you'd really have to dial it in and know what you're doing.
I'm doing my first race tomorrow on keto. Uh, I'm
What race are you doing?
a local race here in Denmark. So
Oh,
it's a
okay.
little something just to test it out. It's a local sports school that throwing a race, and it's very cheap race. And I just thought, okay, let's test it out and try it. So I jumped on it, and it's only a 10K race, so that's going to be the hard part being keto because I have to be so fast. It's only 10K, so I would much rather like it twice or three times as long. It would be a little better. So, so
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
hard part of going keto because I'm fat adapted. It works fine, but the high intensity stuff, the under 10K is very hard. You have to be very strict. I have learned. Last weekend, I did a workout with somebody from the gym, and I wanted to win, but I didn't have it in me. It was an 8 minute thing, and I couldn't even get close to them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's going to be same with me. Like when I started doing the strength training and the kind of the CrossFit style, you know, metcons, it's just you need a little bit more carbs to kind of get you through those. But I would imagine, I mean, seeing how the primal stuff worked for me with Tahoe, and I was probably taking in, you know, 150 grams of carbs a day, you know, definitely under 200 grams of carbs a day. Um, you know, I could see how if you're running like 100K, you know, how going keto would, you know, you're just going to go forever. I mean, that's the way I felt once I went to primal. I felt like I could just, you know, just run forever, you know, in that 180 minus your age zone, you know, the
Yeah,
sub max zone, you know.
yeah. Okay, that brings me very nice to my question about training. You say you do CrossFit gym style training. What is your split on training? How much endurance do you do, and how much strength training do you do?
Yeah, so that was another thing that I kind of before I you know, probably before I switched to primal, I was just kind of I would just do whatever. I don't know. It's like whatever day, you know, we're doing this workout here, and I'd drive out and do it. And you know, so then once I had my daughter and really needed to kind of dial in my training and figure out my time, you know, manage my time better, you know, that's when I started doing more periodization. And you know, I basically I only do about 4 races a year, and I try to kind of, you know, schedule in races based on like my goals for where I want to be at that point in the year. You know what I mean? So, you know, usually my A race is at the end of the year. Like this year, my A race is the Big Bear Spartan Beast, and that's at the end of October. So I'm kind of, you know, riding that wave, and I'm going to try to progress and peak at that point. Um, so like I do periodize. I would say the foundation of my training is is strength training, and like I said, keeping, yeah, strength training, and 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 maximizing, my activity throughout the day. And that's mainly how I would train for endurance. It's just kind of, getting those steps up, making sure that you're getting 15 to 20,000 steps a day, really. If you're running like a half marathon or a marathon, you don't want to be looking down and seeing, you got 3,500 steps. You want to maximize the time on your feet. And then probably, I'll put together like a 6 to 8 week training block before a race. And then really that's when I'll try to dial in, maybe my speed, maybe my hill climbing, and then that's really what I do, rather than just kind of doing that year round. You just get burned out, so then I'll really put together a nice focused block of training where I'm like, okay, for the next 6 weeks, every Friday, I'm going to do this, lactate threshold workout, and just try to improve within that 8 weeks, and then have a race and then see how it goes. And then once the race is over, then I'm kind of back to focusing on just like strength and conditioning and, time on my feet. And then that's when actually after that is when I usually kind of mix in those long kind of aerobic runs. I'm not going to really do, in between races, I'm not going to sit there and really, try to pound my body and, work on hill sprints and, tempo runs. That's what I'm going to be doing, the kind of like what Brad talks about in the book is the aerobic base building, just kind of doing like long, slow runs, at sub max, and then mix in strength training.
Cool.
That's really my strategy.
Sounds like a very healthy way of doing it. It's so cool. It's working for you. It's very, very, very nice. It's fantastic to hear it in real life, working for an athlete on your height of training in the Spartan League.
Yeah, I mean, it works for me. And like I said, it's like I have no delusions. Like, I'm not going to be landing on the podium anytime soon. This is really just, I view this as a healthy outlet for me and my family. It's an excuse for my, to take my wife and kid to, say, Montana, which I never would have done, before, so I just think it's just a really great, great thing to build a lifestyle around. And that's kind of really what keeps me motivated. And, it's just like I said, it's a really healthy outlet, and that's really what keeps me going.
Yeah. If we say it's weekend, now it's weekend, and you're off and you want to do an extra workout, what would you do? Would you take an endurance workout, or would you do some strength training?
The weekends. So typically on the weekend, I always take either Saturday or Sunday off, one of the two. That way I just have a full day off, of working out, and work. So it's just a nice, where I just have one day where I just kind of, recharge, because before I would always try to cram in like, Saturday and Sunday is when I'm going to be doing like all my workouts, and then I'll take like a Wednesday off. But you never really, I felt like I never really mentally was able to recover, because even though I was taking a day off from working out, I was still at work and I was stressed out. So I found that taking at least one weekend day off really helps me to totally recharge, both physically, from working out, as well as mentally from like my job, which is pretty demanding. I'm in IT. So it's it's kind of a grind sometimes. But if I have to mix in another workout, usually what I'll do is like my wife and daughter will take her to like the YMCA and we'll do like a family swim, and then that's kind of what we do. That's like an extra workout I get in,
Fantastic.
Something really light,
Good. Nutrition, we talked pretty much about that. I'm testing this new thing out for this new podcast that I would like to, when people with experience on racing, OCR racing, if they have tips for a lot of the people that listen to this when it's live. A lot of my clients right now are beginners or super never done any races. Do you have any tips for beginners and startups going into OCR racing?
Yeah, I mean, for beginners, I would say if you've never done an obstacle course race, you definitely want to do some running. I think that's what everybody always suggests, do some running. I wouldn't really, I mean, you don't really need to do that much for an obstacle race. I would say, um, I think a lot of people just try to take on so much. It's like they see all these obstacles and they get intimidated. It's like, I need to learn how to climb a rope. I need to do this. I need to, do all these crazy workouts. I would say focus on, doing some aerobic running, doing some low end running, to kind of build up that endurance, or even for a sprint. A sprint's 5 miles, it's going to take probably a beginner at least, an hour to an hour and a half, unless they're, maybe even longer, 2 hours. Um, so build up that kind of that aerobic base. The other thing is work on pull-ups. I mean, that's what I always say. The best way to start doing pull-ups is to start doing pull-ups. Because nothing in Spartan, it's any. There's no single obstacle that's really that difficult. It's really in the context of a race. The cumulative effect of all these obstacles is really where it's going to get you. So a lot of people can kind of go out and easily just climb a rope, but can you climb a rope after doing, a hoist and after crawling through barbed wire and running 3 miles? And then it's like, now your grip is destroyed and you're totally mentally exhausted. Now you got to do it. So I think, start working on pull-ups, be able to do at least 6 to 10 pull-ups, and then work on some conditioning, work on doing, maybe some burpees and then immediately go running after, do 10 burpees and then sprint up a hill and then kind of light jog back down, So I would say for a beginner, don't try to take on too much, focus on just like some, 3 simple things: running, pull-ups, and maybe some, kind of metabolic conditioning like burpees and sprints, and this is for an advanced and for a beginner. Like, one thing that I learned doing this is, I've been doing this my 5th year doing it, is how important nutrition is. I think there's no other, like endurance, you're going to see so many benefits just by changing your nutrition, whereas other sports, you can kind of get away with it, where it more relies on, if a sport that relies more on, say, skill, whereas endurance doesn't really require a lot of skill. You're not trying to shoot a basketball into a hoop or anything, So, nutrition is so important, so that's like the 2 easiest things that you can do is focus on nutrition. And like I said, try to maximize, the time on your feet. For somebody advanced, I would say, like I said, one of the things, like I was saying before, one of the things that worked for me is, try to build in more rest and recovery, take a day off, take a weekend day off where you do nothing, other than maybe do some mobility work, stretching, maybe hit the pool, hit the sauna, take a full day off to recharge from working out and from work, and, periodize your training, don't do these crazy pain cave style workouts every single weekend, only do them leading up to a race where you're trying to get in peak form. That's my advice. And like I said, it's like, I'm not going to be on the podium anytime soon. I'm just I'm going to be 40 next year. So this is just stuff that's worked for, the 40-year-old weekend warrior type, where you kind of want to just, I want to continue to do this until I'm, in my 50s and 60s. So.
But that brings me to a question that I just got here. Doesn't the primal way of training and living feel like that you can continue to the end, actually?
To the great beyond. Yes, that's another reason really why when it just really struck a chord with me when I heard Mark Sisson on that Ben Greenfield podcast, was, that I'm like, here is a sustainable plan that I can easily implement. It's not like I need to go do these crazy style workouts. It's just kind of you just kind of incorporate it into your daily life, and it's part of your life. It's not, I need to fit in 4 CrossFit workouts a week and, 3 boot camps and, all this crazy stuff. And then, it's more just focus on your nutrition, which is something, you can easily do, kind of, keep moving throughout the day. That's something that you can easily do, and then mix in, the more high intensity and strength stuff as you need it, so definitely way more sustainable,
Fantastic. Is your wife on the primal bandwagon as well?
Yeah, she is. I mean, she's probably not as strict as what I am, but she's that's another thing that I wanted to mention too, is like how, Primal is such a great thing that you can kind of roll out across to your whole family without them even knowing it. Really, it's less restrictive. It's just really healthy, tasty food. Eating really good grass-fed beef and wild rice, sweet potatoes. Like who doesn't really like that stuff? And um, you know, basically, yeah, we cut out dairy, which wasn't really that hard for us anyway, and my wife, the hard thing with my wife is probably cutting out, the grains. She likes like her oatmeal and that sort of thing. But even that, I mean, she has that every once in a while, and it's just like no big deal, right? And she actually started. I was making my primal shakes in the morning, and even she started to really like them. She acquired a taste for them, and you know, even my 2-year-old daughter is probably like 80% primal. That's the other thing too. It's like it's there. It's so nutrient dense, and it's so well balanced. That we can give it to our 2-year-old daughter has no problem. And we give her a little bit more dairy, but overall, it's pretty much all of us are on the primal blueprint now.
Fantastic. It makes it a lot easier as well. And
Yeah,
everybody's on.
definitely.
Yeah. Um, do you have any tips for families, everyday people getting more into training? Doesn't have to be OCR, just getting more healthy.
Um, yeah, I mean, if you're just kind of living it, like before I got into this, I mean, I was living a very sedentary lifestyle. I lived in Massachusetts, and I was just basically doing the corporate grind. It's like I would get up, go to work, come home, and then maybe go out to dinner and go out for drinks with friends, and that's basically what my life was. I didn't have any healthy outlets. It was just all work, 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 and then just kind of you know doing whatever. Um, so I would say somebody who's looking to kind of break free from that, I would say definitely, you got to try to push back. I mean, if you're not happy in that lifestyle, push back, maybe look for a new job, or I know that's a big change, but, or maybe push back, maybe don't take on so much at your job and not really, you know, try to stop and smell the roses. A lot of people are like, I don't have enough time. It's like, I would say, don't take on too much. That's what I always tell like my friends. When my friends, they're like, how do you do it? I'm like, just don't try to take on too much. If you're not working out at all, try to go to the gym once a week. Then maybe that'll lead to twice a week. And then because that's kind of the way I started. I was just going. We joined this beach boot camp in San Diego. We started to make friends there. We were going once a week, and then it was like, okay, let's start going twice a week. And then we had some friends there, and they're like, okay, you want to meet up and do some workouts, in the morning before. And then that turned into 4 times a week. And then, now I have a pretty good routine now. But I mean, it wasn't like I just started. I went from being this sedentary slug who was, eating pizza and drinking beer to being, following the primal blueprint, working out 6 times a week. It was a gradual progression over, 5 years. So, that's
Fantastic.
what I would say.
Um, just here on when we're finishing up, where can people find more about you and what you do? You have a blog, I just found out. So
Yeah, we have a blog. My wife and I just started a blog, and we're kind of basically the focus is to kind of help, our generation. The name of the blog is rejuvagen.com. And we're just basically trying to share this sort of information that we've kind of discovered ourselves to help rejuvenate our lives, going from sedentary lifestyle to kind of over 5 years doing implementing primal blueprint and traveling the country doing Spartan races, and how what a healthy effect it's had on our lives, our marriage, our kids and everything. So we're doing that. We're just sharing just overall health tips. Like my wife will be posting recipes on how to make those apple chips I was talking about. I plan on posting a page on my primal shake and that sort of thing, and basically all this stuff that I was talking about here about training outdoors and maximizing the time on your feet. All of that stuff we plan on posting in there. So yeah, definitely check it out.
yeah,
There's not much there right now, but we're in the process. We have a ton of articles in the backlog, so
perfect.
just keep an eye.
I'll bring up. I'll put the link in the show notes so people can go there, and they will listen to this later as well. So it will be when everything is running with the primal shake and everything. I have an interview lined up with Brad Kearns for next week. So I will send, when it's done, I will send it to you as well. You might like listening to that one as well. So
Yeah, well, yeah. Have you talked to him before?
yeah,
Yeah, he's a good guy, really smart guy,
yeah,
very
he is.
responsive.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a little longer one now. So that would be quite cool. And I think a lot of people like you and me, and a lot of the people that aren't working out that much can learn so much from the both him and Mark's thinking and doing.
Yeah, I'm definitely a believer, and like I said, I have the science to prove it. That it works. So
Fantastic.
so what's the name of your gym in Denmark?
It's called Crudeo. Crudeo.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll just it's the name of my email as well. The same the domain it's sent from. So, but I've started up a online business. That's why I'm speaking to you in English, and I'm doing a lot more European, helping a lot of people, because I think that the primal movement is very big in the US and it is not here yet. So I've been
Yeah.
doing a primal style of training and working out for a long time, but now I've moved more towards the primal because I've been very strength orientated. I come from a CrossFit background. I've moved away from it. I think it's just too heavy. They're going too crazy with the weights and everything. So I just like the way of thinking. I can not to everything you said. It could have been my shoes as well. So it's very nice to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, you can check. I mean, the gym I work out at is in San Diego. It's called Performance 360. You should check out their website and see what they do. I mean, like I said, it's CrossFit style, but they're not, it's more about, it's not like linear progressions. It's more kind of like you're constantly, what's the word? It's more, I don't know, iterative. It's like you're kind of always going back. They're not just constantly forcing you to put on more weight. They're focusing on just better movement patterns and improving range of motion and mobility, that sort of thing. Whereas I think in the CrossFit world, no offense, but you can probably attest to this, is it's more like you come in and you just hit it hard, right? And go as hard as you can. And,
exactly. A lot of the places that I see and I visit is crazy. It's Metcons from 35 minutes plus and all different things. You're not told to cut back on anything, and it's just 1 hour
right.
of complete black zone training, because it's just very, very hard work. Of course, there are a lot of different CrossFit gyms, but
right. I know what you're saying.
I've moved away from CrossFit. I don't call any of my things anything CrossFit anymore. I haven't done that for 3 years because I don't believe in it anymore, and that I think that's pretty natural when you move like more into a primal. And when you move more during your day and you take the stairs and start doing lunges up the stairs, and people look weird
Right.
at you when you're doing stuff like that. And I try to teach my clients the same thing. And people might say it's stupid when you own a gym and you teach them to work out without you, but that's just
right.
the way it is.
Right. And I definitely still think there is a place for the gym workouts. I mean, I do it 3 to 4 times a week to go in. And I think you do need, like I was saying, I mean, I do believe you need a solid foundation of strength for endurance. You can't go out there and run 100K or run a Spartan Beast in Lake Tahoe where you're climbing a 2,000-foot mountain, without having a solid base of strength. Otherwise your body's just going to break down. You're going to have really poor running economy. It's like you need a solid foundation of strength. I mean, you don't need to be an Olympic lifter, but I mean, you should be able to do a 5x5, squat, with the barbell, I think, I don't know. I mean, you know what I mean? But it's like you should have a good solid foundation.
Yeah, but that is a good solid foundation, the 5x5. That's why we all started there somewhere in
right.
the beginning. It's just, it works.
Yeah.
Mike,
It-
can I get back to you when you've done your bear race in, was it October?
yeah, yeah, definitely. I can,
And then,
give me a shout, or
yeah,
I'll shoot you an email and let you know
yeah,
how
that
I
would be
did.
fantastic to get a run up on how it went, and a review of the race.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess that's it, Kenneth. Yeah, that was great talking to you. I love talking about this primal stuff because
Yeah, me
you
too.
don't really
So
run into too many people who do it, you know. So
that was the show with Mike, and I'm sure we're gonna have Mike on again. He's a fantastic guy, and he lives the life and talks the talk. And I'm looking very much forward to hearing his response on his race, and let's hear about how his primal living and fat adapted lifestyle helps him in his racing. So that was the show for today. Stay on here and check out the show notes where I'll post links to all the things you need, and stay in contact with me and everything, and the link to Mike's site as well. So have a great day, and looking forward to telling you more and helping more people via this show. Thank you for listening to the Primal Persistence podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share the knowledge in this so we can help as many people as possible getting the physical and energy based power to conquer every obstacle in their way.